Hello everyone and welcome back. So in this video we're going to do some simple setup to help make the demonstration of these issues very apparent. Lee?
Right. Some of the first stuff we're going to do is going to be inside of the config file. It is very, very difficult to troubleshoot very large terrains, especially very hilly large terrains. So we're going to set our max height down to 0. We're going to set our patch count to 1. We're going to set our vertex count down to 5, and we're going to leave our spacing at 2. This is going to give us a flat square, or well, it's not a square anymore because of the zigzag edges, but it's going to give us a small patch that's going to be approximately 8 meters to a side, and only a single one, nice and flat, and we're going to lay that next to a patch that we're going to import. So those are the changes I want to make inside the config file. There's another change that needs to be done inside of the terrain patch, mainly inside of the update mesh method. That being the fact that I am adjusting the main texture scale procedurally. I don't want to do this in this case. The reason this is here was so that we could scale our texture according to the size of our patch, because we can adjust the size of our patch in the config file. I wanted to not have to force an artist to go back and have to hand dial in the size of the terrain every single time. The problem with doing this, though, is if you're trying to compare two different meshes, you would have to adjust this in code every single time, whereas if I cancel this out, this means that I can adjust the scale size inside of the inspector window inside of Unity without having to jump back to this.
Right.
So we're going to comment that out. That will get everything that we need prepped as far as sides initially. Now there's going to be two other things that we need to get ready. They both require an external program. The first is going to be some sort of test pattern. Now, your test pattern can be anything you want, but I recommend it that you do. No, it can be anything you want it to be, but I do recommend that it has a certain set of parameters or features.
I still disagree. It can't be anything you want it to be because they could just save out that black square right there. It needs to have something that is not 100% symmetrical if flipped horizontally or vertically or a combination of both, where you could not tell that it was flipped.
Are you referring to the case where we had a circle? So,
I'm sorry, man. I knew that was going to bite us. The very first test pattern that Lee did a couple of days ago.
Oh, I'm going to recreate it again so they can see it.
The very first one you're not recreating, but I approved.
Oh, yeah.
I approved of that one because you would be able to tell both a horizontal or a vertical flip or both. In the pattern he's doing now, I guess he's going to recreate what he did last night. And I was just sitting here going, okay, he knows what he's doing. This has been his baby, but I'm telling you, I don't see how we're going to be able to tell.
If one were one was so inclined to create a pattern like this and go, well, he did say he could create anything I want, and you create something that looks like this, you may be going around in circles for hours trying to figure out what's wrong because
we did.
Yeah, because you won't realize that things are flipped. So, all right, great, fine. I understand that. All right, so let's modify this a little bit such that, it's directional so we can tell if it's flipped. Well, that kind of gets you there, but there's still a problem with that if we're flipped, horizontally.
It's great listening to Lee actually recite what I was saying. He goes, fuck, cuts the top off like that. There, you happy? No, if you still flip it vertically, or horizontally, we can't tell. So then he comes in here with this dot, and then I was happy. So go ahead and put the dot in.
It was a fun night.
Yes, it was. That ended with all of the video being destroyed.
Yeah, well, sometimes you just have to do that. Even though we said that this is, completely off the cuff.
It is, and it's just all. Well, now we've had a practice run. You can just fill that one in. You don't have to be a fancy donut or anything.
I
Oh,
wanted
what?
fast.
Okay, look at you go.
Though that won't work. You know why?
Well, first of all, you're putting your own shading into that, which is already
Yep.
going to cause its own problem. You
Yep.
just need to put it there. You go. Thank
I
you.
just, yeah, so you don't want to do something like put fake lighting in. I just wanted to bring that up. Because what this is turning out to be is going to be a bump map. But we're using it as a bump map to determine when we set a direction of our lighting coming in from whatever angle, we want to have a test pattern that we can make sure that that pattern is being lit from the correct direction on all surfaces.
Right.
So if you were to go in here and fake some sort of lighting using a gradient like I did, that is going to complicate your situation of trying to figure out what's going on. So don't put a gradient on. Don't go into your layer mask or your layer effects and put an emboss on it to try to get it the pop up. We
You
just
want
want
it
a
as
flat black and
simple.
white.
That's right. Simple as possible
Yep.
with no sort of outside influence being simulated in the graphic itself.
But it has to be a shape in which that you can distinguish if it's been flipped either horizontally or vertically. Actually, I think that's
Or
vertically or
that's
horizontally.
that's right. Or both.
Yep, or both. So it has to be a unique type pattern. This works quite well. The reason I put a circle in on the outside of it, you'll see when we rotate the lighting, it makes it quite easy to see the direction that the light is
That's
coming
right.
in from as it rotates around, which is why I put a large circle and then I embed our keying information inside of it. You
Okay.
also want to try to stay away from putting any distinguishing marks because if you remember, our procedural has a zigzag pattern to it.
Right.
So details may get clipped off on the edges. So that's
Okay.
just something else you want to take in. So yeah, you can create any pattern you want as long as it meets my rules.
Very good.
All right.
So let's make sure we're in the correct.
I'm going to save out as a PNG, and I want to make sure that we're inside of the correct folder. So
Yeah, that should be good.
you delete the old one.
Yeah, I called it jacked.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yes, it was a long. Yeah, but see, the cool thing is jacked.
You're gonna have to. Your format's got you.
Yeah. Go to. Oh, come on. Do I not have all? Oh well. Just trust me. Jacked is awesome because Jack has Boba Fett in it.
Yeah, it had Chewbacca, but he got killed. Don't
But you got
ask.
fired.
Yeah, true.
You got fired.
All right, let's. Yeah, there you go. Let's go to the right folder
Go in
now.
assets, inside of textures, and we'll just call this test pattern.png. Something I've always annoyed me about Photoshop, just a little side rant, is the fact that it automatically capitalizes your extensions. And I seem to recall at some point there was a setting where you can change that, but I've not been able to find it.
How about the
since.
giant checkbox right below that says use lowercase extension?
Hey, awesome. Okay, great, thanks.
You welcome. Wow.
I don't read beyond, this.
I see that. Okay, let's go ahead and get that one saved out.
Wow.
And that made my night. All right, now let's go ahead and visit Maya real quick.
We need to go to Maya. Wow, I can't believe I did that. No, never mind. Yes, I can.
That was epic.
Legendary.
Yeah. Okay,
right.
hang on one second. Let me make sure that we are, there we go, maximized just so that we're capturing everything right size. Okay, a couple of things that need to be done in here.
Yes, we need to make sure things are set up before we create anything. What I
And
speak
we
of
won't
is
go
going-
into, I was just going to say, we're not going to go into any great detail because this has already been covered in the Unity fundamentals that we've released for everyone.
Yeah. So, but we do want to make sure that we're building our geometry meters.
Mm-hmm.
Zoom out a little bit. Create polygon. I want to create a plane. I'm going to do it with options. So everything is here. I can reset settings. But I know that I am building my procedural mesh currently at a size of 8 by 8, and I'm using 4 divisions to do it. I'm using 5 vertices to define it, but it only has 4 divisions. Maya
Right.
calculates based off of divisions, not vertices, so we're using 4 instead. So 4 divisions of a spacing of 2 yields 8 in height and width. We create it, and there is our super Wampadine high-tech testing mesh. This is going to, cause all kinds of pain and discomfort. Oh, that was last night. This is going to go smooth as silk tonight.
Yes, it will. So all we need to do now is take this geometry and get it exported out as an FBX, and we'll do it right over into the Unity project that we have going on.
Yep.
But there is an important thing to make sure that you take into account before exporting. As Lee's going down to advanced options, up under units, if automatic is checked, which it should be by default, uncheck it. And then we need to make sure that we take our file units, convert it to, and change it over to centimeters. So that's going to use that scale factor of 100 so that everything jives wonderfully when we get it over into Unity with Unity's importer.
Yep. And I'm going to place it inside the asset folder with my meshes. I like to have a mesh folder. So I'm going to create a new folder, call it meshes. Just the way I like to work. So, and we'll just call this test plane. Make sure that your file type is FBX, not MB, which is the default setting. And then I'll export this. If I jump back into Unity now, and I collapse down my scripts, and I scroll down to my textures. Here's my test pattern. Test pattern is what we created in Photoshop. It's fine as far as a nice test pattern, but it's not going to work for our purposes unless we turn it into a normal map. So we're going to turn it into a normal map. I'm going to take its bumpiness. I'm going to set it all the way up to the max, which is 0.3. Max size, just because I've created it as 512, I'm going to set max size to 512. This step isn't something you really have to do. I'm just doing it because that's the way I am. It's the way I roll.
Okay.
All right. The other thing is we have our meshes. Here's our test plane. So with the considerations that we used inside of Maya while creating and exporting this, there is nothing that we have to modify inside of here. So we can just drag it into our scene. And it'll come in at 000. We're in a top-down view. So I can rotate around. That means that there is one other thing that is required to do for the initial setup for testing this, and that's going to be setting our character's position to come in at a distance of 0 and Z.
Yeah, 10 over an X, I guess.
Yep. You're talking about setting up the light?
No. I was just looking at the character because right there we had the character still coming in a long ways away, which of course means that the patches would be generated up underneath the character and around the character.
Yeah,
And
all the way down.
Long ways away. That's right.
Yeah, if you guys remember right, I believe she was set to come in on the southern coast of Scotland, looking out towards the Isle of Man.
Yeah.
So, well, this is Alethea, so we've got to come up with different names. It's really not Scotland. But, all right, we're going to adjust our directional light a little bit to make the problem a little bit easier to see when we test. So I'm going to lower it to 25, or rotation of 25, and set its Y rotation to 45, Z to 0. So if I save this out and we hit play real quick, we should see this gray square next to our little zigzag patch. So if I go to scene.
Perfect.
So I'll turn it around, get it lined up.
All right, so
So,
that's really all we need to do in this video, Lee. In the next one, we can start
yep,
demonstrating and then working our way into the new texture and all that good stuff.
yep, we've got everything set up. And I wanted the camera all positioned inside of scene. We're good to go. So,
Awesome. All right, well,
next,
thank you guys. And yeah, next video we'll start demonstrating what the problems are where you can actually see them with this simple simulation. Well, that's going to wrap up this video. Thanks a lot.